Hi, welcome to Camp Happy Mail. I'm so glad you decided to join me today for another crafty card making video. Today we are going to make a couple of thank you cards and maybe some sympathy cards. These could really be any occasion that you want them to be, but I just happen to need some thank you cards. I have a couple of colleagues that did something really nice for me recently, and I wanted to make them each cards just to thank them for what they did because it was very, very sweet of them. So I decided to pull out a set that unfortunately is retired. You might be able to still find it on eBay or maybe on Etsy. Somebody has it. It is called Forever Fern. This is by Stampin' Up, and it has a set of dies that go with it. Some of the dies cut out the images here, and other ones you can use to cut out like color cardstock or vellum. So we are going to use this set today. I'm not going to use the sentiments from this. I'll dig out other sentiments when we get that far. I've got some Stampin' Up inks. Because these are going to be more masculine cards, I thought I would use some blues, maybe some oranges and some yellows. These would also make really nice fall cards. So if you don't need thank you cards or sympathy cards, but if you do fall cards, you can also use this set to do fall cards. So keep that in mind too. I am going to be stamping with acrylic blocks today, not used in the MISTI. And yeah, I think that's about it. So I've got some color card bases that match my inks that I have out here. These are what we're going to be doing the stamping on. These are a part of the card bases. So let me get this cleared up a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll start to do some stamping. So the funny thing about today's cards is they're going to be a little bit of a struggle for me because I don't normally make cards with orange. Orange is not one of my favorite colors, for sure. But I think that the cards might look nice if I did them in orange and did them in blues. The oranges are a little bit more realistic for the foliage. The blue, not so much, but I think they'll look nice in blue. So we're going to do this and see how it turns out. I may end up just putting these in the bin if I don't like them, but we won't decide that till the end. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I am just going to randomly stamp this image in various places on this piece of cardstock. There is no rhyme or reason to this. As I say in a lot of my videos, there is no rhyme or reason. You do you do it how you want to do it. I'm sure that no two of these that I do are going to turn out the same. And that's okay. I'm kind of going for that. But basically, I just want to fill up this panel with different foliage of different shades of oranges. And so far, I like the way that it looks. Surprise, surprise. Even though it is orange, I do think it is kind of pretty. And I think, you know what? Let's do one more. I was going to stop, but we'll do one more. about like that? Okay, and I think with that we will stop with the foliage on this. Now we've got this little stamp in here that has little dots on it, and that might be fun to do in some yellow. It's kind of like collage in a way. What do we think? I think I like it. Let's do another. So let's change it up this time. So this one, well, I want to start with the lightest color. So let's do this one in the pale papaya. And let's do the little one in the pumpkin pie. Now this is actually kind of fun. And let's do the largest one and the darker color. Now I got to be careful not to overpower it with this one. And actually, how about we do this in the yellow? And then, how about we do the little splatter dots in the darkest color? Again, being careful to not totally overpower this. How about just like that? All right, so that's two. These are going to make quick, easy cards. Definitely. And really, you could do this with any foliage set that you have. It doesn't have to be this one in particular. This is just one of the ones that I have, and I haven't used it in a while, so I thought it was time. And I really like this, so I might end up actually pulling out other color schemes and doing other cards, which I'll show you at the end if I do. Okay, I pulled out some shades of blue. I got boho blue. This is very, very old. This is from 2005. This is vintage violet. We got starry sky and night of navy. I'm hoping there's going to be enough difference between at least these three to be able to tell, but we're going to find out. I also swapped out some of the foliage to use these four. The only one being the same is this one and the splatter. Okay, so this is what we have to work with so far. And then I got to thinking last night, it might be fun to pull out some watercolor backgrounds or some other inky backgrounds that I had done and try the same technique on those. So I pulled out my big box of backgrounds and I found some strips. They're not exactly the same size as these, but I think they'll work just fine. And then I figured out some matching ink color stamps or ink colors that I could use for the stamps to go on these, and I think they turned out okay. I think they're kind of pretty. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I've pulled out my boxes of bobs and bits, and what I mean by that is things that I've pre-cut or die cut previously that haven't been used, and I'm just storing them until I figure out what to do with them. And then I have a box of white labels, which I'm hoping we have enough different labels we can use on these to put a sentiment. And then just some other pieces to see what else can I use to decorate these. I am going to try to go for the same design, and I have an idea in my head what I want it to be, but the bobs and bits are going to be different. So let's go ahead and start going through some of these boxes. I think we'll start with the labels first. So let me spread these out a little bit so we have some space to work. And I think that's all still within camera view. So let's take a look at what's in the labels box. And again, these are ones that I had pre-cut or die cut previously that have just never been used on anything. And they got all put into this box. And it's perfect opportunity to pull them out to use them. That might be a little large. Although it could go, where's the one? This is the one that I wasn't real fond of this one. So maybe we could use this on this one. Now I find it helpful sometimes to have a big box like this of things that are pre-cut. That way you don't have to pull out all the dies every single time. And let's change one of these out so that they're all a little different. How about maybe something like this? That could be pretty. Okay, and they're all different. Okay, let's go with those. Okay, and I think the first thing I'm going to start with is this box. These were stamped from the same stamp set that I used to stamp all of the images on these, and then I die cut them out after I stamped them. So let's see if we can find some that will match up with some of these. And it doesn't look like there's anything blue in here, but there are some yellow ones. But they need to be able to stand out enough to be seen. So this might be tricky because it looked like I used some of the same colors of ink on these. But we could use different images than what were used on these, like on this one. Let's just lay some of these out and see what we got, and then we'll play. Looks like some of these I tried a watercolor technique on them because they're a little more blurry than the other ones. They have a watercolor look to them. Now I wonder how bad something like this would look, even though these are mostly blues, if we added another color into them. Or maybe we add some green into them. Yeah, the green might be pretty. Or maybe even brown on some of these ones up here. That might go nice. I think I do like this green with these blues and this green with these blues. So maybe we'll do those. And I think that one is a good match. Green. I think the purple could go well with that one. This one's going to be a little tougher, I think. Yeah, maybe we go brown with that one. We need a different variety. I got too many that are like this. I'm afraid these are going to get lost in there. Maybe if we go something that color. Put the brown one over here maybe. Okay, I think we'll go with those. So let me clean the rest of this up and then we'll continue. So I've cut color cardstock pieces to go with each of these, and this is what we're going to work with to make our cards. You know, and it's funny to think what started out as I need 2 thank you cards, and well, maybe I'll add a sympathy card or 2, has now turned into 9 cards. And this is kind of my process whenever things get out of hand and I go a little crazy with the design. This is the process that I go through. I figure out all the pieces and then I assemble the cards, and that's what I'm going to do now. So I will be back to share with you 9 different cards. So I've got 9 cards ready to share with you. I'll tell you a little bit about each one of these. All of the colored paper on these is Stampin' Up! Paper. This decorative little embellishment die is from a Stampin' Up! Set that is long since retired called Poppy Parade. And the enamel dots are probably Stampin' Up! They might be Creative Memories. I'm not real sure. But this is the first thank you card. Pretty much everything on this one is Stampin' Up! From the label die. The sentiments on these are from a variety of stamp sets. I didn't keep track of what was from what. Everybody has sentiments, so if you do this card, you can pull out whatever sentiments you want. I just try to find something that fit the shape of the label or of the die. Again, the enamel dots are probably Stampin' Up! Because they do match some of the Stampin' Up! Inks. This paper that's in the background was actually mica sprays that I made. And I just did this yesterday. I made some new mica sprays, which I will share with you in another video. I've got all kinds of colors that I made. And the residual spray that was left over when I was testing them, I just sopped it up onto a piece of scrap paper. This is textured paper, which is why the stamping on it isn't perfect. But it was sitting on my desk, and I decided to use that as one of the strips today. And I found some inks in Stampin' Up! Colors that kind of matched it. On some of these, I added a little bit of either gold string or silver string. That was from the craft section at Michael's. You can find it in with the embroidery stuff. I'm not real good at this technique, but I tried. And it's just the string wrapped around my fingers a couple of times and then taped onto the back and then put in the background of the die cuts. This was a piece of watercolor paper that I had done from another project. It was a leftover scrap that I had, and I just mashed up some colors that went with it. And then I used some glitter paper to die cut out this piece. This one has a little bit of everything in it. It's got some silver die cuts. It's got some silver string through it, along with the same things that the other ones had, which was the colored cardstock. And these faux enamel dots on here are actually Nouveau drops. And this one I decided to add the gold string to it, and then it has a piece of gold die cut leaf coming out of it just to tie this in a little bit. And this background is actually the other half of this one. These were together on one piece. You can see a little bit of residual pink down on this one. And again, this was from whenever I created some mica sprays the other day. And then I just found some colors that matched it and stamped it. And I've got some gold string back here. So that's our 9 cards for today. I hope that you'll try this technique. It's really, really a lot of fun. These were just white scraps originally, and everybody has white scraps. So pull out some white scraps, find a stamp set that you can stamp some images on it and make some cards. I mean, it's a super easy design, and anybody can do this, really. So I hope you had fun watching this one coming together. I hope you'll try this, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks.